When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. At tea time, everybody
It's
agrees.
making news. He's talking about it. Elias Makos, CJAD 800.
It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero.
Welcome back. It is 10:22, and my name is Sarah Deshaies, filling in for Elias Makos. He will be back tomorrow, his first show of 2023. Well, this book is on my reading list for this year, We the Others, Allophones, Immigrants, and Belonging in Canada. It's the first book out from Toula Drimonis, who's a columnist and writer, and a true blue Montrealer. And she chronicles the province and the country's relationship with immigrants and new populations. She also delves into her own family history, talking about her parents coming from Greece a couple of decades ago. And especially in a moment like now where we had all these really weird moments during our provincial election campaign, talking about our immigrants. Do they work hard? Do they work enough? Where do they live? All that. I felt like it was a good time to sit down and talk about the idea of inclusion and what needs to be done to kind of change the way some people, the way we think perhaps about new arrivals in our society. And Toula joins me on the phone. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Sarah. Happy New Year.
Toula-
Apologies for my voice. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold, so
Gosh.
I hope you can hear me clearly.
Toula, I can hear you perfectly. Egbert Gay on the Big Five earlier today was also a bit under the weather, and he sounded okay. So we're wishing you all the best and hope you have a speedy recovery. I just got over a cold, and I was kind of doing this thing where in my head, I was like, what's better to have a cold or a flu? Well, a cold's preferable because a flu's intense and you lose a lot of fluids and it's gross. And then on day 5 of my cold, I was like, I don't know, but a flu runs through you like a fire and you're fresh and new afterwards. And a cold, they just linger forever.
That's the problem. I just have this lingering cough that just doesn't want to go away. I feel fine. It's just I have these coughing fits, but hopefully we'll be fine during this interview.
I sincerely hope so. And hey, if you got a cough, you let me know. Not
Exactly.
a problem at all. You got to do what you got to do.
Thank you.
I want to use a new sentence on you. Kali chonia. Happy New Year in Greece?
Kalikonia.
Okay, I got to work on my pronunciation clearly. Okay.
I figured it out. It's okay.
I was trying to impress you. I was trying to impress you.
I appreciate the effort. That's good. Kalikonia. Listen, learning another language is a difficult thing, right?
Well, I'm not even learning a new language. I'm learning 2 words, Toula, but I'm trying. I went to Aphrodite Bakery in Park X for the New Year's bread, and then I went to Bernie Bang, and then I went to visit my landlords, and I've just been trying it out. So speaking of Greek words and Greece, this is a personal book for you because you talk about both your parents who came from Greece at a really desperate time in that country's history to start afresh in Canada. Can you tell me a little bit about your family history?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a very typical immigration story. Most of the Greeks who live, members of the Greek community in Montreal will probably relate to it because the majority of the Greek community in Montreal does come from the south of Greece, part of Greece that was, poor, didn't have many options for that generation. And when the opportunity came, my parents, just like many others, decided to come here. At that time, the Canadian government was signaling very strongly that it needed people. It was opening its borders up to a lot more immigrants coming from Europe. And like many others, they got on a boat, spent 10 days, crossing the ocean and came over here, landed in Halifax, Pier 21, a very typical Canadian story, and took the train the same day and came to Montreal, and that was that. History was written, and I was born a couple of years later. And, very typical Montreal story, and they worked hard, and they made a life for themselves.
And so what has knowing about your family's history, and by the way, an image of one of your dad's casse-croûtes or one of his business ventures is on the cover of the book. It's a lovely cover.
Yeah, his very first diner. The very first diner that my dad ever opened was at the corner of Montreal and Henri Julien. at the time, not a gentrified area at all. Definitely different from, what Mount Royal is today and what that strip is and what it signifies in terms of who, walks it and the places that are there. And it was the very first diner that he ever opened, after having worked for years in other establishments, as a dishwasher and doing all the basic things to raise money, right? Working really, really hard. I mean, that's all my parents ever knew. I remember growing up as they worked in the restaurant business and, yes, they became more successful and they amassed, they made good choices and they worked hard and they acquired a lot of different establishments and sold and purchased other ones. But all I remember from them growing up is that the incredible amount of work that it involved. Anyone who even owns, restaurants or their own business for that matter today understands that it requires so much from you. And I think the mentality from that first generation, and I see it now with other waves of immigration, it doesn't change, right? Immigration is very similar, regardless of what your ethnic background is and what the year is. The first generation just works immensely hard to establish themselves against all odds, against, a new society that, yes, has established some ways for them to fit in and
integrate,
better
as
themselves.
we like to say.
But at the same time, I think people don't understand, how many systemic barriers are there for every wave of immigration and how difficult it is to learn a new language and understand how you navigate your new life. And it's culture shock, it's linguistic shock, it's working crazy hours while trying to figure out where you belong and how to help your kids navigate, this new life as well.
Toula Drimonis is the author of We the Others, Allophones, Immigrants, and Belonging in Canada. And I wanted to know if maybe you think that with the attitude that some people have of maybe they need to make more efforts to integrate, to learn French, whatnot, is that attitude, does it come from the fact that some people are so far removed from when their family or their ancestors came to this country that maybe people don't recognize that hard work?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a lot of different factors. I think it's very easy to get wrapped up in your own reality and not understand, what the actual circumstances are of immigrants and how difficult it is for them to establish themselves. We get this, and a lot of it has to do with pundits and what politicians say. They establish in many ways the public discourse, right? And that's why it's so dangerous, and that's why I often call it out in my columns, because it's not just you and I talking about whatever. It's when you have your own, premier talking about how treating immigration as a problem, and politicians or pundits, very popular pundits that are read by a lot of Quebecers who don't live in Montreal and don't really have a clear understanding of what immigrants are like and their reality, or how hard they try to integrate and to pick up the language. It becomes really problematic, because then they establish this public discourse that is very dangerous. They treat immigration as a problem. They don't see it as an opportunity. We're having conversations about how many should we let in, and whether they're speaking, whether they're learning to speak French or not, whether they're working or not, what language are they speaking at home. These are problematic conversations because it treats people, immigrants, as the other, as a problem, and not as, in many ways, just people who have the right to better their lives and contribute in their own ways to our society here, and also as people who are trying to take advantage of the system. And the reality of immigration is quite different. Immigrants work really hard. They want to fit in. They want to integrate. They send their kids to French. I mean, whether they like it or not, when people come here, they know that they're sending their kids to French. Bill 101 established that. So I feel like we're having all these conversations that are extremely negative in tone and don't contribute to a sense of, how should I say, appreciation of what immigrants bring to this country and to this province.
So, Toula, if you were to put a goal for the whole province for the new year, I think it would be a softer, more inclusive kind of tone to the conversation.
Absolutely. And this goes across the board. This is not just for Quebec. I mean, across Canada, other countries, you're seeing this kind of anti-immigrant rhetoric, which is really counterproductive to real integration. Definitely. I think there are real challenges to making sure that the French language survives and thrives. I understand Francophones, insecurities linguistically and culturally. I think there are so many ways that we can promote French without necessarily penalizing people who come here that don't automatically speak it or can't possibly pick it up in 6 months, and not treating them as a problem, making it, creating the scenario where people, Quebecers as well, Francophones, understand that immigrants bring with them a plurality, of identities that are a richness. It's a beautiful thing to be able to switch from language to language and to contribute to an ever-evolving Quebec as well, right? I mean, nothing stays the same. Nothing that's alive stays the same. And this desire that some people have to, retain a certain way of life or this kind of uniform, homogeneous kind of perspective is not good, really.
Toula, I've just started reading the book and I'm looking forward to finishing it. We the Others, Allophones, Immigrants, and Belonging in Canada by Toula Drimonis. You can get it at your local bookseller. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I'll try it one more time. Kali Chonia, and all the best this year.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much. Kali Chonia to you as well and to all our listeners.
You can also find her on Twitter at Toula's Take. You're listening to The Elias Macko Show.